Welcome guys. So today's session we're going to discuss about arguments as well as the REST parameters. Let's just start making a JavaScript file, name it as REST args. So arguments object I have discussed briefly in our videos which we made on promise, async, callback and bind, right? Where we have passed the arguments, where we made the function to apply those arguments. And REST parameters we have also, or spread operator, we have discussed in our destructuring video as well, right? So just refer that as well, right? If you need to know the details, like I have taken a lot of examples in that. So let's say if I have a function employee to start with, it has a name, age. Let's just go with name and age. Let's keep it simple. Console.log, the backtick operator. So name is, let's say name, comma, age is age. Okay, let's give it a call. Now I'm just going to call that method with Mohit, comma 40. Alright guys, so as evident, this will just print Mohit, my name is A and age is 40, right, on the console. It's very simple. Now, how do we use arguments? Arguments is now what is the difference between arguments and REST? So let's just cover arguments first. If I do console.log arguments, so it is an object that I have at function level which contains the arguments that are passed to the function. So if I do argument 0, it will print me name. Okay. Now you just observe the console. Inside normal, what okay, I haven't called this guys, so let's just call it REST args. Uncaught argument is not defined. What happened? Okay, so it is arguments, guys. Just be careful about the spellings. So name is Mohit, age is 40, and it has printed the from the argument object. It has printed the first element, right? So arguments basically store the arguments in form of indexes. So you can access the arguments passed the function in index. So let's say I have deleted the function, right? Basically the parameters from the function, and I'm still trying to print. Let's say what happens now. Age is not defined. Okay, so you get this error, but let me just comment it. Does arguments give us anything? Yeah, it still gives us back Mohit. That is because guys, since argument is bind to this function, right? It somehow identifies like whenever you call this function, if you call it with any of the arguments, it will still print for you, right? You need not specifically pass it. So that is what we were trying to do when we were using apply and bind, right? We did make use of this property. Okay, but in order to print the normal arguments, you must pass the arguments to the function, right? So only then you can print those arguments. So this arguments object is something which is on function level and it is different from the normal arguments. So this was one such difference between the two. So these are the normal arguments that are passed to the function, and this is an object argument. Okay, now let me just, instead of these, what if I just want to pass like another 4 arguments into the function? What will happen? And let me also show you guys one thing. There is a function called arguments.length. Let's see what it gives us. Right, so will it cause any issues if I'm passing any additional parameters? No, it's fine. JavaScript says it's until and unless I'm getting name and age, I really don't care if you pass 100 additional arguments to this method. Right? It doesn't really makes a difference to me. But guys, now there is a way that you can catch these additional arguments, right, or additional parameters that you are passing to the function. Over here, if you see the console of arguments.length, it is 6. So basically, arguments object is identifying that you are passing 6 parameters. So how you can get it? You can just say argument of index 5. It might give you value 4, right? But there is also another way, right? Let's say you are just bothered about the name and age, and rest of the parameters or rest of the arguments you just want to catch it. So for that you use the spread operator, just like that. So name can be anything, like just use 3 dots, which is a spread operator, and the rest. Now if I just do console.log rest, then I need not catch through index using arguments. So it will actually print the rest of the arguments for me. So that is a spread operator, or the rest parameter, right? So which basically gives me the rest of the arguments that are passed to the function. Now, what is the difference between this arguments and then this spread operator, right? Now, guys, arguments is just an object like, sorry, an array like object, but it is not actually an array. But this thing is actually an array. So how can we prove that? I can very well do dot rest dot map. Okay, and you can just say, let's say you just want to add 1 to every element and then probably return it back. Okay, and we will catch it in a new variable. Okay, so now I'm just going to add 1 to each element, to rest of the elements. So my rest of the elements is 1 2 3 4. So I am, since I know it's a number, so I'm adding 1 to each and I'm just printing that console.log b. This is very much possible, guys, because at the end of the day, rest is just an array. It is an array, right? It is not an array like object, but argument is not an array. I will prove that in a moment. So if you see, if it has added 1 to every element and it has printed the new array. So now can you do that on arguments object, right? Let's just try that. So I'm just going to do arguments dot map. Let's just copy paste it over here. Okay. And I'm going to catch it in a new variable, let's say C. Okay. And let's say I'm just doing console.log C. So let's see what happens now. Yeah, so it just says uncaught type error, argument.map is not a function, right? So which basically doesn't, you cannot use the array methods on it. So that actually proves it that arguments is not actually an array. It is just an array like object. Though you can just, get these arguments, and then also you can, need not pass the arguments into the function, basically because these are normal arguments and arguments object is not equal to normal arguments, right? So that is, guys, about REST and arguments and the difference between them. Let me cover another important concept in this. So let's say I have a string hello. Right? So I would just say how the iterator. So basically, this argument, this REST or spread operator has an internal iterator, right, which works in a fashion of for off, right? So guys, in Java we have something as for off and for in. I've also made a separate video on this. Okay, what is the difference between the two? But our iterator for our spread operator works like for off. So it actually iterates through the elements. So let's say if I use spread operator on A, let me just use that console.log, and I'm going to spread the elements in my string A, which is hello. Okay. So if I run it now, okay, so let me just comment this out, or probably delete it. So if you see, it has individually printed the characters of the string, right? And how can you prove it? If you just do a of 0, and over here I think you should get only h. Yeah, so that's it. Okay guys, so this is how spread operators helps us. It helps even if you have a string, it actually helps to break that. So which is basically a concept of object destructuring as well, which we have discussed in the destructuring video. Okay, so that is all about, guys, about this session, I would say. So we have an arguments operator, we have discussed the spread operator, what is the difference between normal arguments and the arguments object itself, okay, and why arguments is not an array while the spread operator is actually a array of elements. Okay, so that is all, guys. See you in the next video with another important concept. Do like and subscribe. Thank you.